Hello, everyone. Today's podcast is going to talk a little bit about the behavior intervention plan that's developed from a functional behavioral assessment. So what we're assuming, or what we're going to take for granted, is that we have conducted our functional behavioral assessment. And now we're going to develop our behavior intervention plan. Now is the time to take that information that we developed in the assessment and turn it into a plan to benefit the student so that the student is maximally successful. So again, it's worth saying again, just so that we understand clearly, that the behavior intervention plan stems from the functional behavioral assessment, okay? And when you develop it, you'll probably be developing recommendations that you will take to an IEP team, and that will ultimately be solidified and formalized at the IEP team. And that team obviously would include all the component or all the necessary people that would partake in a typical IEP, as well as the parent. So in that behavior intervention plan, you're obviously going to have already determined behavioral function from the functional behavioral assessment. And we've talked about that at length at this point. And so we're going to develop the positive replacement behavior that we're going to try to teach our student. And whatever that may be, we're going to write that out. It's going to be operationally defined again, as we've discussed at the beginning of our functional behavioral assessments. We want it to be operationally defined so it's very clear on what that replacement behavior is. Again, we want to make it functionally equivalent. It has to serve the same function as the inappropriate behavior has served. In addition, in the functional behavioral assessment, we want to look at some strategies that are called antecedent strategies. So we're going to look at those types of things that we're going to do as school personnel to prevent or avoid the inappropriate behavior from happening, and to try to make or occasion the appropriate replacement behavior to happen. So we're going to look at those things, and they can be a variety of things, and we'll discuss those quite a bit in our class discussion in terms of what they could be. Again, they are infinite in terms of the possibilities, so it doesn't make a lot of sense for us really to talk about them here, other than there are a variety of them, and they're independent and unique and contingent on or dependent on the problem behavior and the context itself. So we'll discuss that in class a little bit more and work on those things. Also, we'll have reactive strategies. Our positive behavior, our behavior intervention plan will have what we call reactive strategies. And those are things that we're going to do as school personnel should the problem behavior occur. And it's best practices to have a variety of consequent interventions that range from mild to severe. That is, the reactions are set up to address the behavior if it occurs in just a mild manner, or if it goes to an extreme level to a severe level, sometimes referred to as a crisis intervention plan. So we should always kind of continue or take into consideration that spectrum of potential intensity or spectrum of challenge that the inappropriate behavior could serve. Last, let's look at the issue of treatment fidelity. And treatment fidelity, it should be considered, and it's critical in these behavior intervention plans as practicing school psychologists. When you get out there and start to work with school personnel, you'll conduct good functional behavioral assessments, you will develop good behavior intervention plans, and then you'll teach people to implement them. Now, what happens oftentimes, and this is one of our issues as school psychologists, is we need to go out and be aware of this potential problem and try to address it or develop strategies to address it. Is that sometimes, despite that we've developed this terrific plan and trained people, that in fact it doesn't get implemented at all by the school personnel, or it doesn't get implemented correctly. There are times when we'll teach and train somebody on how to implement a behavior intervention plan and it's not done correctly. So what we as school psychologists have to come in and do is retrain people and make sure that they're doing it the way that we have requested it or developed it and defined it to be done. Also, sometimes it doesn't occur at all, and so we have to go in and address that issue as well by either encouraging the folks or any other method that we can come up to. Again, that area is called treatment fidelity or treatment integrity, and it's a critical part of developing a behavior intervention plan.